now we'll start with edit access and annotations. So now what is edit access? That means if you can modify or make changes in the X and Y axis or rows and columns of your visualization, that is the access part. You can actually edit that part also. When you add a continuous field, that is a field with green background. See, always remember this. If you go back to Tableau screen also, the continuous data is highlighted with the green color. Okay. The continuous data is highlighted with green, and the discrete data or categorical data is highlighted with a blue color. Okay, in Tableau. And when I say data, that means values, the field values. Okay. So if I go back to, when you add a continuous field to the columns or row shelf, it adds an axis to the view. An axis shows data points that lie within a range of value. For each axis, you can specify the range, scale, and tick mark properties. See here, this is one of my axes. This profit is one axis. Okay, this is my y axis, and the month of order date, this is my x axis. Okay, now double click an axis to open edit access dialog box and change the axis configuration and formatting. Okay, that is how you can uh, edit the access values for a particular visualization. Okay, see here, you double click it, you get the edit option, edit access option. Here you have format, show header, add reference line. Okay, when you select an axis, the marks associated with the axis are not selected, so that you can edit and format the axis without modifying the marks. So that means your visualization will not change, only your formatting for your axis will change. Okay, now another thing is we can add annotations. Now how do I exactly explain you annotation is? See, now I'll explain you through this Zoom meeting. This part, see here, I can just simply write that explaining annotations in Tableau. Okay, now this is actually an annotation. Basically, the data that has been given to me, I'm adding specific comments or information for better understanding. So when you as my students are viewing this file or viewing this presentation, you can actually get more information. All right, so that is annotation, basically giving more context to the data. So one way to give context is the tooltip option, another way to give context is the annotations part. Okay, so that is how you can give annotations. Now, like the text that I have given, not this text is fixed here. Another way to do that is through this highlights option. So if I can through this pen option, I can do a lot of things. Okay, then there are other things. So through this, I am giving you more context. Let's say if I draw a figure or something, then I can use the pen option. So that is how I can add annotations and makes my graphs or visualizations better. I can give more explanations. Okay, so we can add annotations to a visualizations to call out a specific mark, a specific point, such as location on a map or an area such as a cluster of scatter marks. Okay, so we'll just see in some time what is annotation and what is how to edit the access. To add an annotation in a worksheet, right click a data point or a spot on the visualization where you want to add an annotation and select annotate, and then select the type of annotation you want to add. There are three types of annotation. This is important. What are the three types of annotation? Mark, point, and area. Now mark annotation is basically select this option to add an annotation that is associated with the selected mark. Mark means this option is available only if a data point is selected. So if you are selecting a specific point on the visualization, data point on the visualization, that is called mark. Select this point to annotate a specific point in the view. And area, select an option to annotate an area in the visualization, such as a cluster of outliers or targeted region. Okay, we'll see through each of this. In the edit annotation dialog box that opens, type the text you want to show in the annotation. Use the insert menu to insert dynamic variables into the annotation text. For example, the annotation can display data values that update as the underlying data changes. Okay, the dynamic variables that are available are dependent on whether you are annotating a mark, point, or area. That is how you can edit an annotation and how you can insert an annotation. Okay, so now this is how now we'll go to see how to edit an annotation. Okay, and to format an annotation. Let's say I go here in this visualization. Okay, now the first thing is edit access. Now this is my edit axis. Okay. Now uniform axis range for all rows or columns. Okay. Independent axis ranges for each row or column. So that you can change now. Or if you want fixed fixed value, like shipment cost has to be fixed. Okay. That you can do. Now what is the starting point of fixed and what is the ending point? Now this they take automatically from the data. Since it is taking the sum of shipment cost, the minimum value has been taken to 0 and the maximum value has been taken to whatever the additional result is. Okay. Now the scale here is the scale means at if you have ever drawn a graph on a graph paper, you have to take a scale, and on the basis of the scale you will plot the points, like how many centimeters on the graph paper is, what is that value specified in specifying, like say 1 centimeter on the graph paper is specifying 1 rupee or 10 rupees, something like that. So you have scale, so you have different kinds of scale. You have reversed scale. Okay, see, if I reverse my scale, I don't know whether you can see the impact on the graph. When I've reversed my scale, it has started from, like, the minimum value is 10k and the like, not the minimum value, the lower point is 10k and the higher point is 0k. If I remove this reversed, it is normal, the lower point is 0k and the higher point is 10k. But if you click on reversed, you can do this. So this is one way to this is another aspect of independent axis, like edit axis option. And then there is another scale which is called the logarithmic scale. Now if you do a logarithmic scale, they are what they are doing is they are applying logarithmic operations, okay, on the data. There can be positive logarithmic operation or symmetric logarithmic operation. Okay, now we'll not go into depth of what is the logarithmic operation and how it is done, but there is a logarithmic scale also. So I don't want to have logarithmic scale and I don't want to have reverse scale. So that is it. Now custom. So if you don't do it custom, so basically every time what happens is, every time whatever the value you're putting in the rows column, that will automatically be displayed as the axis name. Okay. So that is one thing. So these are the ways. Now the next one is the tick marks option. So major tick marks is automatic. Okay. Minor tick marks are also set as automatic. What if I do it to fixed? Okay, so if I do it to fixed, the tick origin and the tick interval, see here. So what is the meaning of tick marks on the y-axis? What is the change? If you can see, if it is set to automatic, there is a scale value 0k 1k, so it has been set at, these are tick marks. That means the scale marks on the y-axis. Okay, if I say it, let's say to fixed, then it is set at from 0k to 10k, and if I do it at none, then all the tick marks will completely disappear. So that is the measure of automatic tick mark. Now minor tick marks also, if I say, let's say fixed, then again 0 and the tick interval is 1000. If I take this tick interval, see, this tick major tick mark is the tick interval, is that means the minimum value and the maximum value. If I here, let's say I do it to 1350. Okay, so now I have changed the tick mark. The starting value is 0k and the tick interval is 1350, and there is a slight variation in the graph. Or let's say if I just do it to 200 now. So I don't know whether you can identify the difference in the graph visualization, but the spacing between, like the interval, if you plot the graph on a graph paper, now the interval value has actually changed. So that is the meaning of how you can change the tick marks. Okay, so if I again go here and if I go to tick marks, I will change the tick origin from here to 1000 and I will do it at to automatic. That's it. Now, if I don't do it, if I keep it at none also, so this it's not highlighted on the y-axis, but the internal scaling will change. Okay, so I'll reset it to automatic. So that is the meaning of edit axis. Now the next thing that we need to see is annotation. Now let's say I want to see here. This is my tooltip. Now if I go here, right click it, and there is an option to annotate. Then there are three ways to annotate it: mark, point, or area. If I want to annotate the mark, okay, so it's giving me quarter of the ship date, year of the ship date, and shipment cost. What I'll do is I'll just simply write here sample mark annotation. Okay, and I click okay here. So here you can see it's automatically highlighted that particular part, this particular area. See here. Okay, sample mark annotation, and I don't know whether you can see there is a gray color of highlight which has been connected to this data point. Okay, if you can see that, I don't know whether you can make that out or not. So this gray color line is actually pointing to that particular data point. Okay, so that is called as mark annotation. Now let's say I take this point. I again want to annotate it with a point. Okay, and I will see here it's just considering no other information is considered. It's only considering the shipment cost. That means the y-axis value here. So I will just write here sample point annotation. Okay, so now what they have done is they have basically taken the sample point annotation, and at this point, at this particular point, the shipment cost is 10,340. The tooltip is not disappearing, but this is an added information which you can use in your dashboard if you want to highlight to your client or to your customer specific point. Okay, so that is another thing. Now, after that, we have something called as area annotations. Let me take this particular thing. I will say annotate, or I will just take the visualization and I will say annotate, and I want to say area. See, also one more thing, if you can see, when I just select a particular area in the visualization and not a specific point, the mark annotation point is gone because there is no specific data point which has to be annotated. Okay, only point or area is there. I will take the area annotation and I will just simply write area sample area annotation. Okay, and I will add this. So what it has done is it has added this sample area annotation in this particular region where I selected annotate this area. Okay,